Hi everyone, welcome to today's training. My name is Dina and I want to jump into something super deep, super eye-opening, super fresh for me on a level of new awareness. I want to talk about a pattern today that stemmed from my relationship experience and examples in my family dynamic, childhood growing up, how that bled into my previous relationship as well as the initial attraction of my current relationship and how I still now catch it to this day. And I want to say this isn't a new pattern for me. This isn't a new awareness. It's just new language that I'm now able to place on it to help you guys understand and see yourself in it more so that you can dissolve it and create an even playing field for relationships to land for you. Because a lot of you are not unfamiliar with pedestaling men. A lot of you are not unfamiliar with needing a relationship. A lot of you are not unfamiliar with this idea of feeling like men are more powerful or are above you in some type of way. And this can create both relationship dynamics where men can't really commit to you because they kind of see you on this level of fangirl. I always like to use the joke Justin Bieber, like he's Justin Bieber circa 2006, and you're running around with your purple t-shirt that says I'm a what did we used to call it? I had Bieber fever on it, right? And also it can just show up in relationship dynamics because sometimes we don't initially enter the relationship dynamic with this pattern rearing its head yet until later. So this is my story of going from this dance of powerlessness and caretaker and how dissolving this and continuing to be aware of it has allowed me to break codependency and get out of these mindsets where men are above me or men are on some type of power pedestal and you kind of have to like small in yourself around them, which doesn't allow healthy relationships to land, and a lot of times doesn't allow for commitment to land either. So if you guys don't know, I grew up with my mom and dad not getting along really at all, maybe a handful of times. I remember some Christmases, of course, they kind of like forced it. There were some moments when my dad was sober. If you don't know, he dealt with alcoholism my whole life until he passed away. And he and my mom just never really got along. There were always fights over money. There were fights over just the relationship in general. Me and my mom even shared a bed until I moved out at the grand old age of 25. Because when we lived in a house, all three of us together, she refused to sleep with him, and the only other room there was to sleep in was my room or the couch. And then once we left, my parents divorced and I was 12, we moved to this house. Actually, I don't live here anymore, but we're staying with some family until we go back to Florida at the end of the month. And we slept in this bed because this was the only one that was available to her and to me, with my aunt. And that was kind of growing up what things looked like. And I remember my mom, every single time my dad would get sober, she would often use this phrase of, he's too powerful now. He's looking down upon everybody. He sticks his nose up at everybody. My mom had a very difficult time existing in elevation. My mom had a very difficult time around my dad when he was doing well and also when he wasn't, but I think that she was more comfortable when he wasn't because she could step into a role where she was now powerful, where she could mother and take care of and micromanage. And so the relationship never worked on either end of the scale. She could never really exist on a level playing ground when he was in moments of his life where he was on the up and up. Right? And she would oftentimes make it a problem that he was on the up and up, which is very interesting how that dynamic played out. So when I got into my first real relationship, I was about 18 years old and I was coming out of high school. And the guy I was seeing at that time was he failed out of high school. He did not walk. He wasn't stupid. He just didn't apply himself, and he did not walk for our graduation. And over the summer, he took summer classes, and he did really well, and he got his diploma. And then we went to our freshman year of college together, just community college, and I kind of had the resources to drive us to both college and back every day. Had my mom helped him kind of get back on his feet and get into the groove of going to school, and he did really well, like really, really, really well. He ended up going on and getting his bachelor's degree at university, getting a really amazing job. And as our lives shifted and he became more powerful, I started to notice something happening within me. I started to notice how I would operate from the same way my mom did, how I started having negative connotations and stories added onto him when he started to become and exist in deeper power within himself. When he started to get his finances together, he had a collection of friends, and just a lot of things that I had some of those things, but I had wished I had more of it, right? And I had a very difficult time existing in his world while he was rising. And it often made me feel small. The only time I had really felt grounded and powerful was in those moments where I was, in my head, above him in a way. Where in my head I was, the one kind of getting him to school and doing all those things until he, the roles kind of reversed, right? And I started to feel small. I started to pedestal him. I started to see him as above me. I started to see him as better than me, as something that I needed to keep performing for, to make sure that he doesn't one day wake up and go, "You're not for me. You have all these things and all these ways you're not growing in your life." And there's truth to that. I wasn't. I was very comfortable in one level of success, and it's true, I wasn't refining in my life at that time. And at the end of our relationship, we kind of had this time where he moved out to his first apartment, and I felt so small. I felt so powerless, and this was not his fault at all. This was an unconscious pattern, me basically mirroring exactly what happened with my mother and father, right? And so we ended up cutting the relationship off at that time, and there was no way I could allow myself to move out of here and into an apartment with him. I just did not see myself as somebody who was allowed or able to do that. I saw him as above me, as powerful. If I lived with him, I would end up feeling small, right? So flash forward to meeting my now fiance, and he, to my knowledge, had a lot going for him. He had, an investment career that he was taking a part of, really great group of friends, very well liked, very loved, a family that was very strong and supportive. He had a lot of things, and it was always attractive to me to be with a man who was powerful, who had a lot going for himself, who wanted big things, who didn't just say he wanted big things and just talked a lot of talk, but actually went after them and was putting one foot in front of the other, right? And so I would notice as John came into my world how I already, from the jump, felt powerless around him. And he wasn't even doing or saying anything that was degrading or making me feel powerless. It was a nervous system and identity that I was used to and comfortable inside of, right? This was a shadowy behavior and pattern that I had. And so you hear it talked about a lot. Oh, well, you pedestal men, you pedestal men, you pedestal men. That's a great surface level description of what's happening, but what's going on in the deeper level is where this work really needs your attention, right? And so you might notice this now, discussing it and hearing me talk about it in more of an elaborate manner, how it's not just a pedestaling of men, it's a way of a condition that you fall into feeling small around them, into feeling powerless, feeling like they hold or have something above you, their life matters more than yours does, right? And this was a pattern that I continued to engage in. And through the first several months of even just going through the work of attracting the relationship, I wanted to know that something about having somebody on that pedestal and then having them desire me was like a trophy that I really wanted to be able to put into my case, right? I was not on the same playing field for him. I was energetically showing up in this Justin Bieber fangirl, this Bieber fever, the John fever. That's how I was treating the relationship and showing up. And when you're not on the same playing field energetically with that person, it is likely that you will continue the pattern of not really landing committed relationships, and you might continue to repeat the pattern even after that one with other people, right? So that was how it was showing up for me. And this can stem into so many other symptoms, right? It can stem into being very attracted to manifesting the relationship, because you'll do anything to have that person acknowledge you, recognize you, find you desirable. You're willing to go to the nines. You're willing to learn every texting strategy, how to communicate with a man, how to understand his attachment style, your attachment style. Some people go as far into understanding the astrology and the human design and just like everything across the board, anything you can get to help yourself get out of that feeling of feeling small. And your way of doing that is having them recognize you, acknowledge you, stop rejecting you, choose you, right? And this is where, again, the work really is. And when I talk about my unconscious communication system, I talk about 3 different things that I had to do to move out of this. And still to this day, you know, of course, it's not nearly to the extent that it is, but I just catch it a lot quicker, right? So the shadow was making his life bigger than mine, making myself feel small around somebody who has goals, ambitions, friends, families, things that I desired in my own life that I wasn't having for myself, right? Which was personal choice. And wanting that person to kind of come down to my level so that I could feel equal instead of rising, right? And this can even happen even if you do have a lot of things going for you, because it's still an in-body normalcy. You will still find ways to feel like this person is above you, however. And sometimes it can even dance into the mothering side of it. If there are moments where you do feel more powerful, it can kind of look like looking down and holding perfectionism above that person's head, right? But it's the same side of it's just the same side of a different coin, right? But that is how it looked like a lot of pedestaling. So in regards to my unconscious communication system, I had to start watching my bodily sensations while he was in my presence, right? So shadow, I had to understand that this pattern was playing out, this pedestaling behavior was playing out for all of those reasons, right? And uncover that, because without the awareness of the pattern at play, just knowing that you put people on a pedestal isn't pattern recognition. It goes way deeper than that. You have to understand now where it's showing up in the dynamic. And it, for me, would show up in physical relationship with him. So when he was around, I would notice myself feeling small. Like you could probably have seen my body contract like this. Like I just felt small. Like he's bigger than me. Like he holds something above me. Like there's something he has that I do not, right? And especially when he would have a lot of friends call him, or when we weren't actually in a relationship yet, and I knew maybe there were some other females who had also had his attention a little bit, right? All of those things aided in that small feeling, or I used them as an opportunity to feed into that small feeling, right? And so I had to notice in moments where that small feeling was showing up and purposefully become conscious of it and expand my body back out, literally shifting the body language, noticing what thoughts were going on in my head. Wow, maybe this relationship isn't for me. He's just too good. Like I just feel contracted around him. I feel like I'm not confident enough. He holds some type of confidence above me that I don't have. He's going to any moment now see that I'm a fraud, right? That's a great way to explain it. See that I'm a fraud, and I'm not the type of woman that's going to be able to be by his side and rise in success with him, right? He's going to find somebody else who can do that, who can do it better than me, who is more confident, who is less flawed, right? This is just some of the thoughts that would show up. And when he wasn't around, the way it would show up was I would wake up in the morning and I would hope to God that there was a call or a text message from him reassuring me that he was still interested, because for those small increments of moments where he was doing that, I could feel not small for a moment, right? I could feel like, oh, maybe I'm not so small, right? But that would be very fleeting, because it was still codependent. It was still related to how he was or wasn't showing up, not sovereign in me, not locked in as a frequency within myself. And so other ways that I had to start recognizing and shifting out of that energetic behavior was choosing not to take that behavior in the morning, was choosing not to make my morning dependent and focused on what he was or wasn't doing, right? So that would have meant for me at that time, I don't even know. Where the heck did I get this thing? I don't even know. Just grabbing things. That would have meant for me at that time changing my routines around, right? Changing my routines to be focused on me instead of having a routine that was focused on his life and making his life the forefront of my focus, right? And this kind of taps into both the emotional clearing and the exposure piece of my unconscious communication system, because there were moments where guilt would come up, for putting myself in focus. Guilt would come up for maybe saying no to a plan that he wanted to do, because I, in that time, needed to show myself that I could choose a plan for myself or choose something that I'm doing. And even if he comes in with plans for us, still choose to do the thing I was already going to do, to show myself that I was also important. It doesn't mean this other person's not important. It's that we're having an equal level of importance here, right? We're showing our body and our mind that we too are important. And of course that can create both guilt and in emotion and just exposure, feeling raw, and continuing to choose that over and over and over again, being with and dissolving those emotions in the body as they were showing up, and also just allowing them to be there as I was choosing the new behavior, right? This is my unconscious communication system to a T. And if you have patterns like this showing up in your love life, in your relationship dynamics that aren't allowing stable, secure, committed partnership to roll in, I'd highly recommend doing my 30-day, 1-month Love Ascension intensives, where we use this process to also uncover your pattern as deep as we've uncovered mine and dissolve it so commitment can be on the same playing field as you, or for you. So as I really leveled out the playing field by making those choices over and over and over and over again, and also doing making sure that I was getting belief systems that were supportive to this concept of self, this identity, this always chosen version of myself that I knew I wanted to embody regardless of if he chose me or not. I would do that at nighttime with my overnight hypnosis. So with the Love Ascension Intensive, I create a custom one for you, and I send that to you so that you can use it for a lifetime, because it's not something I've ever stopped doing. I still use these tapes to this day because it's something we need to stay on top of. Otherwise, if you don't, yes, it becomes easier to catch it over time, of course, but if you go, years and years and years without having some type of refinements in this work, it is likely you will kind of go back a little bit, right? So how is this shown up in my relationship now? Well, John is a real estate agent, and he's very friendly. He's very outgoing. He's like people always want to be around him. People want to work with him. He's a great person to work with. He's very detail oriented, just amazing person to work with in regards to his field of knowledge. And so my business took off a little bit earlier than his. He's a little younger than me, if you guys don't know, about 5 years. So my business took off a little bit earlier than his, and it took him a little bit longer to get his footing. So I noticed when he started to get his footing and he started to have these really incredible deals and opportunities, which he's always a fucking magnet to, he's so good at it, come through for him, I would notice myself getting that smallness again. I would notice myself going, ooh, like, what if he becomes too powerful and he starts to look down upon me the same way my mom used to do with my dad? He's too powerful. He's sticking his nose up at everybody. He's looking down upon me now, and I'm just so small, right? So I would notice, again, that starting to show up in my body, but it was a lot quicker of a observation, of an awareness of it dissolving, because I'd already done that to a capacity in the process of actually attracting the relationship. So it would show up kind of like ooh, he's going to figure something out about me. He's going to just like skyrocket past me, and I'm not going to be able to keep up. He's not going to want to have somebody like me in his life unless we're at like the same level of success, or I'm above him all the time, right? Those were just some of the thoughts and feeling states that would come into my body. And now I'm very, very aware of it. Now I make sure in the moments where I'm watching him elevate, and maybe I'm in a season of my life where I'm also elevating, or maybe I'm in maintenance, I'm growing something, whatever. There's so many different ways that our success might contrast or look different in certain times, is always bringing in that neutrality. Always having this understanding and awareness that his success is only going to make our relationship better, that my success is only going to make our relationship better, that his success can exist without me feeling small by it. His success can exist and I could celebrate it, right? That is another way that we can accidentally create that dynamic where we feel small, is we'll start to pull away congratulations or happiness or proudness from our partner, and leave that pedestaling behavior or energetic kind of left out to flail around, as if we notice that we're not celebrating it, right? So making sure I'm celebrating those things, making sure I recognize that his elevation is better for the both of us, because you are who you surround yourself with. And when you're surrounded by a partner who is also doing really well, it's going to help you also, right? And vice versa. So recognizing these things, recognizing that his success doesn't diminish me, and at the same time somebody gets to be bigger for a moment. Maybe somebody gets to have the attention or celebrate their success, right? Some shadowy things that you might accidentally do, or I accidentally did, was not want that person to have that attention because it takes away from me, right? That was where I felt in my body, in my mind. So recognizing somebody else can have it for a moment. He can have it for a moment. He can experience success where maybe I'm just growing or doing whatever's going on in my business, because it swaps all the time. Either way, that person's allowed to have their moment, and it doesn't have to make you small as the other partner, right? And this allows for that level playing field to stay without finding yourself in this pedestaling mentality, starting to feel like a fraud in the relationship, starting to feel like this person's bigger than you, starting to feel like they're going to just go past you and find things that are flawed or wrong with you, when that's not actually the case. It's a power perspective dynamic that I had to learn how to neutral out, right? So the unconscious communication system has allowed me to become aware of that pattern long ago when I was in my earlier 20s, dissolve it for the most part, notice when it does come up now to this day, because I want you guys to understand something too. Sometimes I have clients and they'll be like, oh, I thought I dissolved this pattern 20 years ago and it's showing up. Yes, patterns will still show up later down the line. The point is never to make it so patterns are a 0. A lot of times patterns do get down to a 2, a 1, a 0 on a scale of 1 to 10, right? And there might be seasons where that pattern might veer its head. The point is that you're so aware of it now. The point is that you've done so much work around it that it doesn't linger. It doesn't sabotage the relationship. You're able to catch it in a day, 2 days, instead of it letting it spiral out over 6 months to a year, right? Because when it goes on for long periods of time is when it starts to manifest into relationship dynamics that you guys don't want to be in. So when you're desiring a relationship dynamic where this person is high devotion, this person is continuing to put effort into the relationship over long periods of time, they make you feel like you wake up every morning and this person kisses you on the forehead and lets you know that they are the best thing that's ever happened to you. All of those experiences happen in you before it shows up through them. It shows up in these little moments. It shows up when we dissolve these patterns where we accidentally pedestal another, or men, or relationships in general. It happens in all of those moments. You create that devotion for yourself, for you first, right? When you're unconsciously pedestaling men, you're not choosing you because you're making their life more important than you accidentally. It's not your fault. A lot of us have been raised in dynamics similar to mine, some form of mine, right? You choose you in those moments by going through the process that I just said, by understanding and dissolving it in the ways that I just said. That is choosing you. That is creating devotion in yourself, refining it, and staying on top of it throughout your life so that you can have a successful long-term relationship where you guys are both growing together. I don't know about you, but I always wanted to be in a relationship dynamic where I was with somebody who was incredibly powerful while I was also powerful myself. We were building something, we were growing something together. Me and John are doing big real estate investments in Florida and Detroit. Like, we're doing big shit together, and that's what I desired. So in desiring those things, guess what? You're also going to have to fix this dynamic too, if that's something that you want. And especially even just down to something as simple as creating healthy commitment, high devoted relationships. It starts with you. It starts with the way that these little patterns show up in your life. And it starts with using the unconscious communication system to no longer have them locked onto you, to no longer have the pattern dragging you like a leash, so that relationships can feel so fun and exhilarating and fun. I always like to use the it's not even a metaphor, but I always like to say me and John's relationship feels like a vacation. Like, it's so fun, even though we're doing big things, and we're in a moment right now where we are going back to Florida, and we've had to come see family for a month. In the process of that, not so fun things, me and him still create that vacation relationship ease feeling, because I have continued to do the work of creating the devotion within me first, right? Respecting myself, focusing on these little energetic nuances and ways that develop me and develop the relationship to be bigger and better and better. So if you want to do this work, highly recommend jumping into a Love Ascension 1 month intensive with me. It is $600 off right now for a very, very small amount of time, and also a very limited number of spots. This is my most popular mentorship container. I have had so many women go from single to committed inside of this container. I've had women who were already in relationships that maybe fizzled out, shift and fix those relationships. I have women who have had the most eye-opening, awakening awareness and dissolving from being single for years, maybe in a dynamic with somebody specific, to that relationship getting into something committed, or they have these big awakenings where they are able to attract a relationship that is highly devoted to them, right? So this way, relationships can naturally just start reflecting a level of effort and consistency and the investment that I all know you guys want. You all want the man to be just as invested in you as you are in him, and that starts with you. All without, you do not need more self-love rituals, freaking self-help books, dating advice. This is the work right here, you guys. So I will leave the link in my bio in the description below. You have a few more days to jump in at the $600 off mark. You can shoot me a DM on Instagram at The Ultimate Manifester, and we can discuss if this is a good fit for you. And I can't wait to see you guys again soon. Bye.